With the context of council. Yeah.
So, welcome to our council meeting. Please silence your cell phones, stand up, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and remain standing while Vice Mayor Boland gives the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we thank you for this time we can be here and do the work of the town. But Lord, we thank you for this season in which we can celebrate your birth. And I just pray that you'll give us all peace and the sense of being home this year. We have many more people that have moved up here. Be with all those that are out on the roads and traveling, and our people that work on the roads, our police, our fire. I pray you'll just protect them and watch over them and keep everybody safe. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Dina, roll call.
Roll call. Vice Mayor Boland.
Here.
Councilmember Culleton.
Here.
Councilmember Jones. Here. Councilmember Tryon. Here. And Mayor Crowder.
Here.
Thank you.
So, 1E, approve minutes of the November 7th special and adjourned regular town council meeting.
I move approval.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Second, motion by Jones, seconded by Culleton. Roll call vote. Vice Mayor Boland.
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon.
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Thank you.
So 1F is the year in review. It was a very busy year, and all of the accomplishments are a collaboration of the council, the town staff, the private contractors, and I'm really proud of what we've done. So rebuilding, as of December 7th, 1,719 single-family residents and 376 multifamily units have been rebuilt and received a certificate of occupancy. To date, we have 28.28% of our pre-fire housing stock, 1,377 surviving units, plus 2,021 completed units. Recovery, Cat 4 tree program, Phase 1 assessment enrollment completed with 570 enrolled properties representing 1,014 acres throughout town. Trees will begin to be removed next year pending approval of Phase 2. Early warning system. The town was awarded funds for construction and is working on pre-construction activities with our contractor to install the 21 siren towers. Installation is expected in spring 2023. Ignition resistance rehab program. After being awarded funding, the town has worked with FEMA on environmental requirements and is very close to being able to open enrollment for this program. Housing. Working with households on owner-occupied rehab construction programs, 25 homes completed, 21 homes currently under construction, 32 applications in process. First-time homebuyer program, 6 homes purchased, 11 in application process. $55 million in CDBG DR funding for multifamily housing. We have 143-unit project approved. We have 4 projects under review totaling 156 units. We have 121-unit project preparing an application and 12 projects in the works. Public Works, sewer project, completed the environmental impact report, secured $30 million through CDBG DR to fund design phase, completed the Transportation Master Plan. We were awarded $199 million through CDBG-DR for projects including evacuation route improvements, reconfigured and repaved Skyway, adding an additional travel lane southbound to improve evacuation capacity, expanded Public Works Department staff to meet increased project needs. Economic development. We established 2 business assistance programs, Business Investment Grant Program, Commercial Sign Removal Program, supported new businesses opening in Paradise, including Nothing But Love Paradise and Big Lots. Finance, we continue to follow and update the fiscal sustainability plan. Personnel, we hired staff in nearly every department to meet the increased needs of a town in recovery. Our police department is fully staffed, and I know there's other things that aren't even on this list. And I want to personally thank our council, our staff, our contractors for all the hard work, because you can see it every inch of this town you drive. So my thanks to you. So with that, I'd like to invite Assemblyman Gallagher's office and Congressman LaMalfa's office up to the podium. Special presentation.
Of course. Hi, my name is Braden Pisani. I'm here tonight on behalf of Assemblyman James Gallagher, and we just wanted to come up tonight and recognize Jody Jones, who's having her last council meeting. And we've worked with Jody a lot over the years, advocacy in Sacramento and the work that she's done for the town. You know, her expertise in transportation projects, road improvements, things of that nature really helped in the recovery of the town, and prior to the fire, all the projects that were done up here. So we just wanted to thank you for all the sacrifice that you've made through the years and your service on the council, being mayor and then serving on the council as well. So congratulate you for your time and wish you the best in your retirement.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, Tim. Hi. On behalf of Congressman LaMalfa, we want to thank you for your commitment to the town of Paradise through the devastating Camp Fire, your time on the Planning Commission, and everything you've done for the community. And present you with a certificate of special congressional recognition. And thank you. Enjoy your retirement. Enjoy your grandkids. And I'm proud to call you my friend. Thank you.
That's cool.
So don't get comfortable yet. So on behalf of the town of Paradise, the council, we want to thank you. I want to personally thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you, and also a pleasure to call you my friend.
Can I say a few things?
Absolutely.
You better.
I'm glad Steve is still thanking me after serving for the last 4 years, because I talked him into running. I was thinking he might be regretting it by now, but I'm glad he's here. I originally ran for council to help Paradise get a sewer in the business district, and I'm really proud to say that it looks like it's going to be a reality. Steve talked about what we've accomplished this year. We're moving into design, and construction funding is looking very positive. So I feel good about leaving. I think the project's in good hands, and it's going to become a reality. It's been my honor to have been able to serve the people of Paradise. And also to have served with the members on this council. I'm really grateful for the atmosphere of professionalism and respect that's been the hallmark of your town council for the past 9 years. In this day of vitriol partisanship, Paradise is blessed with a council that actually has civic discourse. Every member that I have served with, whether they were liberal or conservative, loves Paradise and is more concerned with making good things happen for our town and its residents than fighting political battles. If you look around the county at other councils and boards, I think you might agree that that's really unique. And we are blessed to have that here in Paradise, and I think it's really contributed to the rebuilding effort and how far we've come in so little time. I'm really grateful that we've been able to thoroughly discuss our problems and agree on the best solutions for our town. And I expect with our new member coming on that that's going to continue. I think that we're really lucky to have Ron joining the council. I'm also grateful for the extraordinary staff that Paradise has. Whether they live in Paradise or not, their love for our community shines through all they're doing to help us rebuild and thrive. They're smart, they're innovative, they're persistent and hardworking, and they've made my job on the council really easy. So I want to say thank you to all of you. I know that the town is in good hands, and I look forward to watching how all of you will lead our town into what I think is going to be a really bright future. Thank you. Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
So I need to do something first before we go any further. First off, that's the first time I've seen you tear up, so this is great. I got to see that before you left. But I want to say thank you. I've probably been on the council as long as anybody and served with you the most. And you've just been there when we need you. And you stepped up after the fire, and you were there for us and did what needed to happen. And thank you for that.
Thank you.
So much appreciate that. And you will be missed. Thank
I'll
you
miss
for
all
Ron
of
to
you,
come,
too.
but you'll be missed, and your knowledge will be missed. But anyway, thank you for that. But I wanted to read something for our mayor. This is for Steve Crowder and his being the mayor this last year. So, whereas Steve Crowder has served the community of Paradise as mayor and presiding chair of the town council for the past 2 years, and whereas Steve Crowder has guided the town with professionalism, insight, and unyielding loyalty to the people of Paradise. And whereas Steve Crowder remains steadfast in his commitment to the recovery of Paradise and has led the town through unprecedented challenges facing in implementing the long-term recovery plan. And whereas Steve Crowder served on the town sewer regionalization project advisory committee, say that a bunch of times real quick, and was integral in establishing the principles of agreement for the Paradise Sewer and its connecting to the city of Chico. Whereas Steve Crowder has well and faithfully discharged the duties of the mayor of the town of Paradise, I therefore now, Greg Boland, vice mayor of the town of Paradise, do hereby recognize and commend Steve Crowder for his contribution in the betterment of our community. Thank you, Steve.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been my absolute pleasure to serve this community. I don't believe there's another community anywhere like this one. And it's, you know, we're relatively newcomer. We've only been here 10 years. And feels like I've been here a lot longer. And this community from the day we got here welcomed myself and my wife. And I have to thank the the entire community, our staff, my fellow council people, and we got a lot of work to do yet, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do it for all of you, so thank you. So, item 1H, adopt resolution number 2022, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise, reciting the fact that the general municipal election consolidated with statewide election held on November 8th, 2022, declaring the result and such other matters as provided by law. We need a motion, or?
Yes, we do.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Culleton, seconded by Tryon. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland,
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon,
Aye.
and Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Dina, I think this is,
So now we get to present the certificates of election and administer the oaths of office to our newly elected council members, Steve Crowder and Ron Lasson. So if you could please meet me in front. All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Steve Crowder,
I, Steve Crowder,
and I, Ron Lasson,
I, Ronald San,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
So with that, we're going to adjourn for a 10-minute break, and then we'll turn the meeting over to Dina. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hope you really enjoy it.
I will. I'll miss all of you. But
Well,
It's
we
time.
live so far away, you know. Yeah.
Jody, can I give you a hug? Oh, absolutely. I know you're only going to be a phone call away. Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
I may even miss you so much that I come and watch.
So now you have to fill out a card when you want to show it. Merry Christmas. Good job. That hell of a job you got on those racks over at the flag container, the rack. You like those? Yeah, I do. I didn't think they were gonna work. It looks like. Had other
Thank you. I'll still be around.
Thanks, sir.
Just so you know.
That's the key. I don't know if you ever can be ready for it, but
As ready as you can.
as ready as you can.
I gotta get your phone number again.
Okay. I should have business cards here, but I have old ones, so I'll give it to you. You bet. Well, we'll be voting on that tonight to open it up.
I'm watching who goes on.
Yeah.
Debate whether I want to throw my hat in.
It's not an elected position, so it's an interview position.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But I want to see who's on the interview.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I mean, you gotta kind of handicap your horses.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have not thought any more about the burning, other than what we've talked about. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
No comment.
One of the things we were taught to say is no comment.
Do you need these, or can I come back to Woody?
You can give back to Woody.
I saw the price print at about $4.25 yesterday, and I predicted they sold a bunch, and they did. They sold another 60 million shares. How much? I think they said 15.8. The price was almost $16. I think it was $15.82 or $15.82.
She needed to be over 1550. And so we hit that target.
Ready, Nina?
Yes.
So we're going to reconvene, and we're going to turn the meeting over to Dina. And
Hello?
Hello.
We're going to go ahead and start the meeting again. All right, so I have to get my notes. Every year in December, the town council elects one council member to serve as mayor and one
Hang on,
council member
hang
to
on.
serve.
Do we want to do roll call first?
Oh my gosh, you're right. We do.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
Wow, good call.
Good call. All right. Councilmember Bolin,
Here.
Councilmember Culleton,
Here.
Councilmember Lassonde,
Here.
Councilmember Tryon. Here. And Councilmember Crowder.
here,
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Every year in December, the town council elects one council member to serve as mayor and one council member to serve as vice mayor for a one-year term. Any council member may be nominated for the office of mayor, including the council member who served as mayor during the previous year. Election requires the affirmative votes of at least 3 members of the council. The election process for the mayor and vice mayor is as follows. The mayor turns the meeting over to the town clerk to act as presiding officer for selection of mayor for a one-year term. The town clerk opens the nominations for mayor. Any council member may nominate any other council member. No motion is necessary. The town clerk asks for a motion, a second, and a council vote to close the nominations for mayor. The town clerk takes a roll call vote on each council member nominated in the order of nomination. When one council member receives a majority, 3 affirmative votes, he or she will be deemed selected as the mayor for a one-year term, and there will be no further vote on any subsequent nominees. The town clerk will then turn the meeting over to the new mayor as the presiding officer to follow the same procedures. So before I open the nominations, I just want to, I did receive a public comment for this item via email. So I am going to read that. It is from Melissa Crick. And it says, I had hoped to speak at your meeting this evening, but as it turns out, my own December organizational meeting falls on the same night as I currently serve on the PUSD Board of Trustees. I wanted to briefly touch base related to the selection of officer positions this evening, specifically the selection of mayor. I understand that this is a role that is often rotated and that each board has a formula for determining who may hold their officer positions each year. While I am not familiar with how the town selects their officers, I assume that it is similar to other boards in that is at the discretion of the council members. If this is the case, I would humbly suggest that you make no change to the role of mayor. I suggest this because I have been thrilled to watch the improvement in community relationships and the public's trust in local leadership and believe that there is a direct link in consistency in said leadership, not just at the town, but in Paradise as a whole. Paradise is truly blessed with both the quality and consistency in local leadership over the last several years, and I am personally thrilled to see this continued. As we are all aware, oftentimes the biggest struggle in public relations is communicating the work done, branding, and messaging. Mr. Crowder has been a wonderful ambassador and messenger for the substantial work of the town and the council. I make this suggestion because I believe that the consistency in local leadership has been tremendous in building trust within the greater community. I have been pleased to see Mr. Crowder at ribbon cuttings, school events, CFC events, Habitat for Humanity events, Rotary events, chamber activities, and so much more. He makes a point to be involved and to be present in activities and organizations that are important to the community. Mr. Crowder has relationships with many of the organizations around town and participates in a number of local committees, always showing up when invited and making himself available for questions or to offer insight or input when requested. Additionally, he makes a point of recognizing that he is a messenger of the town and that the many accomplishments around town are due to the diligent work of the council as a whole, as well as town leadership. I feel that both this united message and the familiar face are a great tool to continue to improve community relations. As a passionate Ridge resident, I am very grateful to each of us, as well as the town, for the incredible work done and for the vision to carry us forward. While I have every confidence that each council person would be just as committed in the role, I respectfully suggest to each of you that you would allow Mr. Crowder to continue in this role of mayor, assuming, of course, that he is willing. I feel that the consistency provides a sense of stability to the community. I have heard similar feedback from various organizations and committees on the Ridge and wanted to just pass the thought along. There is much excitement and much progress around town, and I think we are each holding our breath and hoping that the coming year will be just as successful as the last. Once again, thank you for the tremendous work done, as well as your consideration of my thoughts this evening. Happy holidays, Melissa Crick. Okay. 20 seconds. And I also have another card from John Romalia on this issue.
Good evening, council. I can't say it any better than what the first person's letter said. But what I do want to say is whoever accepts the nomination, please make sure that you have enough time to be at the events, do the jobs, answer the questions, and if you don't know the answer to the question, tell them you're gonna find out. I have never seen a mayor in this town since 2008 when I came here that has been as committed as Steve has. I know you may decide somebody else, but if you have travel or business or something else that gets in the way, please pass it on to somebody else. Thank you.
And that was my final card on this item.
I nominate Greg Bowen.
I nominate Steve Crowder.
Councilmember Culleton has nominated Greg Bolin, and Councilmember Lassonde has nominated Steve Crowder. Are there any other nominations for mayor? Do I have a motion to close the nominations?
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Culleton, seconded by Lassonde. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote to elect Councilmember Bolin as mayor. Councilmember Bolin?
It's always awkward. Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolin, you are now the mayor, and I'm handing the meeting over to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your trust in that. I appreciate that. I'm going to open up for the vice mayor, and I'd like to start off by nominating Rose on that, if you don't mind.
I'll nominate Steve Crowder for vice.
Are there any other nominations? Do I have a motion to close the nominations?
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Second. That's just a joke.
Motion by Culleton, seconded by Tryon. All in favor of closing the nomination for vice mayor?
Aye.
Roll call vote to elect Councilmember Tryon as vice mayor. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye. Make it unanimous.
Councilmember Tryon? Aye. Councilmember Tryon is the vice mayor.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We're going to move into campfire recovery updates. Did I change my name?
Yeah. We've upgraded.
Thank you. Colette Curtis, and Recovery and Economic Development Director. Any thoughts, questions? She's not here tonight?
Brian Selecki's here to answer any questions on her behalf.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts, questions on that? Did you have anything you wanted to say while you walked all the way up?
No.
Okay, well, thanks for coming. Mark Maddox, Public Works Director, Town Engineer, Infrastructure, and Sewer Update. Any questions or thoughts on that? Seeing none on that. Tony Lindsay, CDD Building and Code Enforcement Update. Questions? This is great. All right. Kate Anderson, Business and Housing Manager, Business Housing Update. Just for the public's notice, this was all written reports, and I'm just asking to see if they had any questions from those written reports. So seeing none, we'll move forward into consent calendar. What's the wish of the council?
I move to accept.
Second.
Motion by Crowder, seconded by Culleton to approve the consent agenda. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Bolin.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Public communication. This is a time in which the public public can come and speak. You have 3 minutes. You can bring up anything. We're asking you to talk about things that aren't on the agenda. We can't act on those things, but we can hear what you have to say. Is there any cards on that, Dana?
I do have one card from Ward Habriel.
Good evening, council, and Merry Christmas.
Merry
It is
Christmas.
that time, isn't it? This is a subject that I want to bring up, and you know, I like it when I can be here and I can compliment you or the town about something, and I do have one of those. But you know, I got a stinger too. You know, I got to try and keep a balance in here. When I had to learn statistics because my employer required it, I didn't really understand all that it meant. But I followed one for several years because I had to travel up here probably over 1,000 times since, I don't know, the last 50 years or so. Grandma and Grandpa are up here. They wouldn't come back to the Bay Area. You want to see the grandkids, you got to bring them up here. And the statistics when it came to like how many accidents per mile, how many accidents with injuries per mile, how many accidents with deaths per mile on Highway 70 grew every year. And I drove past many of those. I thought it was pretty bad. And unfortunately, former Councilmember Jones, who was very instrumental at Caltrans in getting some kind of funding and activity to do something about Highway 70, and it eventually happened. And if you saw the news 3 weeks ago, there was quite an ordeal about let's have some applause. And I would do that too, because that has made a huge difference. I traveled it again just this past Saturday. What a world of difference. Absolutely incredible. But that's what statistics tell us. Sometimes you realize you got to make changes. And sometimes even local government makes changes. So I'm recalling the worst injury accident on Skyway after it was changed from 4 lanes to 2. And here's the thing about the statistics that really gets to me. Between the police, the fire, the ambulance crew, and some bystanders, somebody said, if Skyway was still 4 lanes, there's a 50% chance this accident wouldn't have happened. That's a statistic. If you were here when that road was changed, you got to live with it. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
That was the only card I had for public comment.
Okay, anybody want to come forward? Okay, we'll move on to council consideration, 6A, presentation by PASH regarding the Paradise Animal Shelter and discussion regarding the Paradise Animal Shelter renovation, funding options, PASH's involvement.
Good evening, members of the council and Paradise Town staff. My name is Art Collier. I'm with the PASH Board of Directors. It's a pleasure to be able to address you again tonight regarding the Paradise Animal Shelter renovation project that we proposed six months ago. If you recall, I think you were all here except for Councilman Lassonde, but we've had a chance to talk a bit. We received great response and input from you with our first presentation, and wanted to give you an update on where we've gone with that. If I can make this work. Try that. There you go. So we received a number of recommendations at the end of the meeting, or at the end of the presentation on May 10th. The first was to get some construction figures, to incorporate an adequate veterinary treatment area into the plan, as well as an animal bathing area into the plan. To consider use of the town property behind or to the north of the shelter and possibly the area to the west of the shelter as potential expansion areas. To look beyond the immediate needs of the animal shelter to the future growth of the town. To think outside the box in formulating ideas for a shelter campus, and to develop a plan that could be implemented in phases, and then to establish a timeline to complete the project. We did talk to a local contractor, got a very loose estimate because we just had a floor plan, so it was difficult to come up with a tight estimate for the building. For the warm shell, but we did contract with Rancho Engineering to draw up some architectural plans. Those plans, according to Rancho, should be available to be submitted to the town for review by February 15th of 23. And so we've been talking with council members and town staff for the next steps in the process. This is the revised floor plan addition. The gray area is the addition to the existing shelter, with the circled area there being the intake exam room with a bathing station incorporated into that in the new part. This is just kind of a sketch of how we might incorporate the area to the north of the shelter into a campus with a couple of fenced play areas and a large grassy play area for training and for potential adopters to take animals out and exercise them and get to know them. This is not. We're not certain as to the availability of that property, but there's also potential for the area to the west. Oops, what happened? Oh, okay. Yes, okay, so. So the existing building square footage currently is 1,540 square feet approximately. The addition, the new addition is about 1,840 square feet. So we're roughly doubling the size of the facility to 3,380 square feet. The current acreage in use is a ½ acre, and if we incorporate the area to the north that's in the picture there, it would add another acre, so we'd have an acre and a half of campus area. As far as thinking outside the box goes, all of that area on the left side of the picture is town property that is sort of a watershed. We don't know if that could be utilized as extension of the campus for maybe an off-leash dog park or an overnight dog boarding facility or some other potential animal-related use that could in the future be incorporated into the shelter campus. So another suggestion was to develop and implement the plan in phases. So we proposed that the first phase be the design and the building of the addition to the existing shelter. And phase 2 would then be infrastructure, the infill to the new building and retrofitting the existing building, upgrading the technology and equipment so that it better accommodates the animals and the staff working there. And then the third phase would be landscaping, creating the outdoor campus area and making that more aesthetically pleasing and more useful. Then we came up with a potential timeline for completing the project. The top line, 2023, in February, the blueprints being submitted to the town. We'd like to kick off the public portion of fundraising in April, if things are going along as planned. The construction of the new building would begin in June of 2023. The initial landscape work would perhaps begin in September, and then moving down to 2024, the initial landscape work completed by March, the building construction completed in June, and the new building and infill and retrofit completed in September, so that the entire project is complete by November of 2024. So basically we took all of the recommendations that we that we received at the last meeting 6 months ago. We've got the construction figures. We've got the plan design improved. We have a plan for the property, the extension of the campus, and we're trying to look towards the future for further expansion, and that would include thinking outside the box for new ideas that would be appropriate, and that we have phased the plan and established a timeline. So our request of the town council is that you give us a consensus to proceed with the project, and that you direct the town staff to work with the PASH team to move the project forward. Our understanding, we hope that you would understand that we have raised $250,000 for this project. We've allocated some of that already in the initial work that's been done. We would hope that the town will cover most, if not all, of the new building construction costs, and PASH and the community will fund the rest of the project, that being the phases 2 and 3, the infill and the campus landscape part of the project. And then the PASH will provide day-to-day management of all project phases, and the town staff will provide oversight, direction, and consultation as needed. Our project goal then is to expand and improve the Paradise Animal Shelter, to increase the asset value of the shelter, to improve the services provided, and to showcase the commitment of the town of Paradise to the welfare and safety of the community's pets and wildlife. Any questions or comments?
Can I say something real quick before we get into the questions? This is something, I got on the council 10 years ago, and this was an issue back then. And Woody, you remember that. This has been something that's been dogging us, no pun intended, for a long time because we have not had the money to properly take care of the animals and do what we needed to do. And I appreciate this presentation. It gives us some ideas. I like the fact that what they're basically saying is the town would own the building. We would fund the building. That's our asset.
Yep.
They would like to then fund the infills as far as the computers, the tables, the stuff needed for caring for the animals. That would be PASH's part of it. It'd be the infill part of it. Again, they're expanding their horizons to look for future needs also. That's the thing we didn't do back in the day, is we didn't think about collecting enough money for future needs. So they're looking at that, and I know that puts them into the corporate yard, which really is not a corporate yard. It's a blank lot that our equipment's getting rained on and messed up. We need to find a place that's a good corporate yard that covers our equipment, takes care of it, we can work on it. I think that's an important task that this council needs to do. And that would open that up for them then to have the expansion of walking areas and expansion of that whole grounds for their use. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there before we get into questions and stuff, so.
And I actually agree with that. I mean, my philosophy is this is a town-owned building and town-owned land. And so it should be our responsibility either through, and I think either through ARPA funds or Measure V, that we fund, the building part of it for sure, and allow these great volunteers to use the rest of the money for whatever else is needed there. I had several conversations with our city manager about this, and I'm like, why is it up to a group of volunteers to feel like they have to raise all this money when it is our building, our land, so, as the town? So maybe Ross can speak to what we have left in ARPA, and if there's someone here that could speak on Measure V, I think we could come up with the funding for the building, I'm hoping. And then that way, the great job you guys have done raising money can be used for, maybe the softer items that we wouldn't think of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. We would like to as Mayor Bolin said, we would like to basically focus our attention on specifically the animal-related stuff within the building that needs to be there in order to make the animals, more comfortable and their ability to be adopted and so on better. So that's the infill kind of stuff we would like to be focused on.
And I believe there's, a 2015 grand jury report who also pointed out deficiencies.
Yeah.
And again, this kind of falls under two different departments, the police department and public works, because it's the maintaining of a building. So thank you for all your guys' work, but I really think it's our responsibility as a town to fix the building, so.
So you're asking just for concurrence of the council for you guys to continue with this project? And the idea is that at some point, we would fund the construction of the building. My first question is, my understanding of infill, like you talked about a warm shell.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take $500,000 and we build a shell, put in the foundation and build the walls and the roof and all that, so it's a warm shell.
Mm-hmm.
Infill would be if you need interior walls, if you need all that other stuff. Is that what you're talking about, or are you only talking about computers, dog dishes, desks, chairs?
I'm sorry, when I said the building, that meant the walls and everything inside. That'd be a fixed asset.
No, I understand that. You know what I mean about, but infill, a lot of times you can have a
Yeah,
structure.
no, we would be part of that.
We're gonna do all of that, okay.
And then they would have the loose assets, the computers, the desks, the tables, all the care for the animals. I didn't mean to jump in there,
No,
but
thanks, that was,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I asked that question, was just because of that.
yeah, that
But,
was
yeah,
our understanding.
so I'm not sure on this agenda item, I mean, because we're not looking, I didn't see a whole lot of numbers, I mean,
well, did Steve, you were going to say something to begin with, Steve. Did you have something else?
Well, I was just going to ask if we had any kind of cost estimate on the building, yeah.
We did get a local contractor's loose bid, and it was really a generous bid. It was $120 a square foot for the addition and $85 a square foot for the renovation. That was, I mean, I know this has to be put out to bid, and so that's, but, I think they were trying to help the project get along and doing some of the stuff pro bono. So those are the figures that we got. And it's very loose because, again, well, the per square footage bid, I think, was what they were willing to stick to, but it was, they weren't sure what the whole thing was going to cost.
so,
Well, no, I think it's a great project, and I think it needs to be done.
Is yours on?
It is,
Oh, it is on. Speak into it.
but I would, I just like to get, an idea of what, so we can see where we can get the money and,
Right, so our plan is to have the blueprints, the architectural drawings done by February 15th, and then it has to basically go out to bid to arrive at what those costs are going to be, and we
So-
really don't know what that is at this point.
so let me jump in here. So what I'm reading the agenda, it says, you're making a presentation for discussion and all that, so why don't you're asking for concurrence. I think you have that from this council, so why don't we, does this take a motion?
Let me, maybe we
We want to
can,
give direction to staff to come
Right.
back with all of those things, the numbers.
The numbers,
Yeah, and all that.
But
and
that's-
where-
and where it will come, which
And where-
buckets it comes out of, right?
Yeah.
so that, before we get further down, maybe we can understand the buckets that are available so that council has good understanding of when this does come back, where those funding mechanisms would be, where we have the options for those funding. So if I don't, Ross, if you might come up and kind of give an understanding of what's left there. And then I might turn it over to Mark, just so that Mark can give you a understanding of once the engineer plans would come from PASH, how Mark then would handle those plans moving forward on a bid process to get the thing into construction.
So just a sort of, high-level overview of those buckets that were mentioned earlier, looking at American Rescue Plan Act funds that are currently unencumbered, as well as Measure V funds that are currently unencumbered. We have in reserves $440,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds currently that are available to be allocated towards various projects, and about $773,000 in reserves from Measure V that are currently unallocated. So those would be two funding sources that would be available.
So let me follow up on that. So, the rough estimate, the number is kicked around is $500,000, $500,000 or so for the building. So, if we have that, we have 400 and some odd thousand of the unencumbered, or whatever it's called, those
ARPA
funds.
funds.
Yeah, and those can be spent on any unmet needs, kind of, right?
Yep. Any
And we have
general-
$700,000 in unspent Measure V funds, and those are specifically earmarked to be used for animal control, police, fire, roads. I mean, that was the promise we made to the citizens when we passed it. So with knowing that, I mean, it just seems like we would want to spend that money first so that we still have the unpromised funds to spend on any unforeseen that's just my 2 cents.
Or possibly even a combination. I mean, I would even be open
I
with
wouldn't want
a,
to spend the whole $400,000.
Well,
Right,
the
I
one
would
thing with the ARPA to remember is that there is a deadline to spend them,
Okay.
and that this project really does meet the goals associated with those ARPA funds. Is that correct?
Yep, and that deadline to encumber those funds is December 31st of 2024. So we do still have some time, and then they have to be expended by December 31st of 2026. So still some time on those ARPA funds.
That's on
but-
that $400,000.
Yes. Yep.
So it would be, then I would ask, and part of the feedback from staff would be, do you guys on the horizon see any other town needs that those funds could be applied for, used for, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because if we have the money in Measure V, that's a no-brainer to my way of thinking. But if these other funds can be used for other things that we may need a match or something like that, we might want to consider that. I mean, we spend half of it or three-quarters of it, but, you know.
I think both these buckets are available, and so I think as long as the council's comfortable with either one of those buckets being used, I think that's the key to moving this project forward, so that when it does come to fruition, and I'll have Mark talk about this. The other thing too, I was just reminded of, is that we are applying for a grant, and I believe the grant is up to $250,000 potentially. Yes, I got a nod, for this specific project too. So if that grant was to come to fruition, then boom, that knocks it off right there. But as long as we have momentum moving forward, that we're, as a council, are open to getting this project completed with one funding mechanism or the other, you don't have to make that decision tonight, then we can move those projects over to Mark. And Mark, how would you handle those engineered plans moving forward?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, council. Thanks, Kevin. And yeah, we can definitely move the project forward. I want to thank Art and the PASH team for the willingness to prepare the plans. Honestly, that's going to be one of the biggest barriers for us as the town to have those plans prepared on our own. It would have taken a lot of time and budget to do that. But if they're able to deliver the plans and architectural drawings for that, we obviously will route those through the building permit office there at the BRC, get approval with their review, and then put it out to bid just as we would a normal facilities project. Hold pre-bid meetings and have it open to the community and region areas to submit bids for that project, and then we would manage that through construction in a timely fashion. So by them providing the plans for the expansion really does save a lot of time and is a great benefit to the town and the department and our workload as well. So once those are ready, we could put that out to bid in really short order and bring those to council for approval. And just like other projects, we ask for approval to advertise and approval of the plans, put them out to bid, award it, and build it as quickly as possible. So with this project, we don't see any issues with that type of collaboration and delivery of the plans from an external source like PASH.
So I'm with you, and I also concur that, that's a big step for them to be able to work on the plans and get that going. But when that's complete, when we've allocated the funds, if that comes to that point, we able to reimburse them those monies for those plans so that they can use those monies for their infill? Is that going to be able to be done so that ties into the structure and the asset that we have? Was that a question that made sense?
It does, but wouldn't that be our decision?
Yeah, the short answer is I believe the answer is yes. We would have to make sure that whatever bucket of funds are utilized would be allowed for not just the structure itself, but for the planning of the structure. I can't imagine that they wouldn't be. It would be really odd to have a funding source be okay with the building itself, but not the plans for the building.
Right.
So I'd want to look at it, but I believe the answer is almost certainly yes.
Okay, and if we could do that, because I think that's important to get them paid back so that money is available for them to do what they want to do inside. Again, that's our asset. That makes our asset happen, so.
The one question I have is on the Measure V fund, and you say that 773 is unencumbered. Are there not additional needs from the police department, the fire department that would tie that up? I'd like to know if they say, oh, we got everything we need and we're great, then I have no concern with that.
You guys are good, right? No, just kidding. No, so that Measure V fund has 773 unencumbered right now. But remember, every year we have revenues of $1.3 million in there that is able to absorb those other needs that are available. I will say that the police did have some heavy lifts this last couple years. We feel like we have gotten them up to where it is going to be more of a replacement, where before it was a heavy lift to get them up. We had radios needs, we had body cam needs, we had all kinds of needs to get them up. We feel like we've gotten them in a good spot. We feel like Public Works is also getting to that point where we're getting them at a good spot. So we do feel, and Ross, if you want to jump in, we feel like that this timing is perfect for this big expense coming out of Measure V for this specific project, which would then support animal control.
So I got another legal question. In their presentation, they said that the bid they got was like, really generous, like $80 a square foot for the remodel and whatever it was, just in today's market. But they said a lot of that was, that local contractor gave them this rough estimate, had thrown in a lot of pro bono stuff. When we go to a public bid thing, are bidders able to communicate? They're not.
Mark, bidders can basically give as much pro bono work as possible
Okay.
to a public agency in their bids, correct?
Yeah, we've actually had a situation like that before with a generous bid through Mr. Dan Hayes and the construction of our additional fleet maintenance bay, where he did want to donate as much as he could, but we had to procure the project formally and using the normal procedures for the public contract code. So our advice to him was to go ahead and include that donation that he was planning as a part of his bid, and he did do that. And we were grateful for it, and that was reflected in the bid that he submitted. But as it appears on our side, on the accounting and the bid and the competitiveness, there was no special designation or any treatment differently of any other normal bid. That's just something that the contractor did on their own.
So then my question with the Measure V money, that's $770,000. So does that include, so would that zero out any reserve that we've got, or?
Yeah, and if you spent all of that today, it would zero out the reserve, but that doesn't take into consideration the next year's revenue coming in. So if there was an advanced spending that needed to happen, but you wanted this to really be 2023-24's budget, then you would spend down that revenue, knowing that 2023 revenue would then reimburse that to bring that back up to a reserve level that not only the committee's comfortable with, but what the council's comfortable with.
The other factor in this is anyone who donates either time, either labor or supplies to this project, because the town is a nonprofit, we can certainly take that donation and document a tax deductible opportunity for them. So I don't want to put it in crude terms, but I would love to give Uncle Sam's money away all day long as they're giving it to the town. So.
Cool, good.
So
Other
we just
questions?
get concurrence to keep.
I think, is there anyone that's opposed to us moving forward and having the plans completed by that time and then moving forward with that? So I think we're all there, and staff will,
So just to clarify, what we're making concurrences for PASH to move forward with the plans, specs, engineers, drawings. The next item that you'll see will be, Mark will be bringing back the item to post or to go out for bid on the remodel.
We'll see where the money's coming out of
money,
as well.
too.
That's got to happen first.
We need to have a conversation.
So at that point in time-
With Measure V to make sure they're okay with this too.
Okay, so we'll bring this to Measure V, but during that time when you're going to approve not only the dollars, but also of the plans and specs at that point in time, when those come back.
Okay.
Because we don't know what the cost is going to be until we actually get the bids back.
Right.
Right, so, good? Good?
so Pash, thank you. This wouldn't happen without you, and we really, really do appreciate that. And I know the police department really appreciates that. It's huge. Your work has just begun, because we've gotten to this point, but there's a lot of work to find out what the infill costs, what you guys need to do and all that. So it's just started, but thank you so much for all you're doing, and I'm looking forward to having this a successful job. So, yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, 6B, appoint council representative and alternate to represent the town of Paradise on various local, regional boards, committees, and commissions.
Hey, Steve, you guys have to stay. That was part of the deal.
We didn't have any, I'm sorry, we didn't have any cards on that, did we? Okay, thank you. Figured you'd tell me. Dina, are you going to take this and do the committees? I am?
You get to. The only comment that I do have on this is for the Butte County Mosquito and Vector Control Board, that Melissa Schuster is willing to serve on that committee again. And in the past, I believe it's only been a 2-year term, but they would prefer a 4-year term. So if council is willing to appoint her for a 4-year term, that's the only.
What is that for?
The Butte County Mosquito and Vector Control District.
Okay, when we get to that, we'll, let's bring that up. Let's start at the top. Air Quality Management District, Jones was,
I'll stay on it, and I've been the alternate for BCAG, which meets right after it on the same day, so I'll take on both of those. There'll need to be an alternate in place.
And I'd like to be on the BCAG if we're jumping to that one, because I think I need to know who the players are in the county and all that, and that's the best way to do that. And that was
Okay.
a committee that Jody had in the past.
okay.
So would this be that Councilmember Tryon would be the regular and Councilmember Lassonde would be the alternate?
Alternate,
Okay,
yes.
for both of those?
Yes.
Okay.
What page am I at?
87.
87?
87. 87's a new one.
Okay, I'll be there in a minute.
All right. City Selection Committee, that's me, right?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Disaster Council, all right, that's not an option. I'm on LAFCO. Mosquito Vector, is there anyone that has a concern with Melissa? I don't think we've ever had a council person, except when she was here.
Exactly.
We've always
Terry
had-
Mallon was the representative for, I want to say 12 or 15 years. He was Terry Mallon. He was our citizen representative.
If there's anybody just dying to be on that one, let me know, but, all right, we'll leave, and thank Melissa for us, please, for doing that. Waste Management Local Task Force,
I like garbage.
I'll stay on.
so you'll be alternate, Rose?
I think we're both representatives on that one.
No, you're the alternate, has a name there.
Well, it's supposed to.
It's supposed to be named.
You guys can duke it out afterwards.
Wow.
City County Ad Hoc Committee,
Yeah, I'm on that one too.
okay.
I'll keep doing it.
Tourism Business Improvement District, Colette Curtis, is that all right, or is anyone?
I'd like to augment that. That's one of the tenets I ran on is business improvement and bringing businesses back, so I'm not saying kick her off, I'm saying I'd like to be on it with her.
Okay, that works. We can make that happen. Continuum of Care,
I'm off.
I think you're
I'm off.
still on that.
No, I'm not anymore.
Do we need to do this?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, actually, there's some funding that I sent it to Kate. There's a bunch of money just got released for, and it can be used in a lot of ways. It's all through but this is like a really difficult committee to be on.
Yeah, we need a representative to be
Yeah.
at least
I mean,
allocated to it.
I've only made like one meeting all year, you know. It's really hard. to put up with.
Anybody dying to be on this one? Ron,
Well, I'm not dying to be on that one.
would you be on that one?
So,
So what? Well, you're the vice mayor.
no,
You should
I
be.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm keeping all of my committee assignments, so.
Would you do it, Ron?
Well, I have two others I'm trying to be on, PID and.
All right, let's come back to that.
Okay.
Butte County Fire Safe Council, that is Rose.
I've got it.
You want to stay there?
Yep.
Paradise Community Village.
I hear that's going away.
We have met a total of 0 times.
right? And, yeah, I think maybe keep it on there, but it could probably be the last year of this committee.
Well, I'm your alternate, so if there's something comes up, if there's a meeting, I'll go.
Yeah, we have not met on that one. Irrigation liaison, it was Joe.
So who's
and
going to be on
Tran.
Paradise Community Village then? Woody is,
I'm on it,
okay, so the two of you will remain on that one?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to be on the PID liaison, replacing Jody.
Rose, you want to stay on that?
Yeah.
Rec District,
Yep.
Crowder and Colton, stay that way?
Sure.
Have you guys met much on that? No?
No, I don't think there's been.
Has PID met much, that group?
We haven't met much, but I think in this coming year, what we're going to maybe do is try to get more active.
Okay.
Needs to be, because they're
Yeah.
doing a terrible job tearing up our brand new roads.
So maybe either a quarterly standing or maybe a semi-annual
Okay.
standing. Yeah.
That'd be good. Paradise Solid Waste, that was Colton and
Yeah.
Tryon.
Yeah.
The garbage detail.
Okay, that's going to stay that way. On-site ad hoc committee. Can't tell you how much fun that one is. I'll stay on it.
I'm good.
Steve, you good?
Yeah.
I don't think we've met on that yet either, that I remember. Finance, that's me and Rose. Butte County Oversight Board, that was Jones.
Yeah, I'll do it if nobody else wants it.
Did you want it, Rose?
Um,
Huh?
I've got the other two.
Okay. Okay. I like a good battle. Paradise Sewer Regionalization Project Advisory Committee, so I cannot be on that.
I want to stay
Yeah,
on
I
it.
want you to stay on.
I'd like to be on it. I ran on that as a critical need in my campaign, and part of the votes I got was because.
Well, I know, but we have some others that have been on here, so.
Understand,
do
but I'm
you
just
guys-
saying I want to be on it.
Are you guys interested?
Yeah, I'll take it.
You want to be on that? Okay. We've had some been on here for a while. Okay.
Continuum of care still.
So when I look at page 87, I don't have any assignments. That's pretty cool.
You need to write it.
Oh, I'm supposed to write those in. Okay.
Oh, I got you down, don't worry about
You got me down
it.
for
Yeah, I
two.
got you down.
All right, I'll stay on that committee.
Thank you.
And not attend?
Well, I read the agendas, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I may or may not attend. I mean, if, you know, and if you
Yeah, I
don't
hear
know
you.
about it, you should check into one.
I-
And you will see why you wouldn't attend either. I mean, they do a lot of good stuff.
Right, but
You
it-
simply don't have the same problems. And
Right.
The dynamic of that is that
It's all about Chico.
it's all about them.
Why
Yeah.
don't you have it be an alternate position?
No, it's all about
So
them.
that way if we
Ron
can't
knows.
make it,
He
someone
knows.
else can.
I know.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's all about
And that's what makes it really hard.
Yeah.
Ron, you'll be an alternate for that?
We
That's
can
what
ride together. We can.
Did I hear that?
Thanks, Woody. I'll be an alternate for it, and I'll attend as many times as Woody does.
No. It's when I don't attend, you have to attend.
I know.
That's the way that works.
No.
So you need a good reason why. Okay,
All right,
alternate.
let's go. I gotta go back to work. What's next?
Okay, we good, Dina?
Yes,
You got them all?
draft of that to everyone? So that they can just review it and make sure I put
Right.
everybody at the right
And if there
committee.
is an issue, let's bring it back next council meeting. All right, 6C, approval of notice of vacancy created by one other than Ron Lassonde. Thank you, Ron. So we're going to need to vote on the application time. We need two people that would be on that committee to interview.
I'll do one.
And I'll do it too. I kind of know what the job requires.
You two want to do it? Okay. Okay. Unless someone else wants to arm wrestle. I'm good with
So-
it. Okay.
So that will be Councilmember Crowder and Lassonde?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we need to vote on the
So
Yeah,
I'll
roll
move
call vote
approval.
on it.
deadline being January 12th for that. Interviews would happen January 25th, 26th, and then February 14th would be the meeting that we'd appoint the person. So we have a vote. Any cards on this?
I have no cards on this item.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Culleton, seconded by Lassonde. Roll call vote. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Boland.
Aye. Okay, thank you two for doing that, appreciate it. 6D, approval of Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Infrastructure Action Plan, Amendment 1. Mark Maddox. Where are you at, Mark?
Where am I at?
Where-
Oh, I should have
Unfinished
the beach background.
Yeah, you should, that's,
No, I'm at home with some sick kiddos, so thank you so much for the accommodation. Sorry to be remote here, but I'll make sure it's as seamless as possible. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen if that's all right with the room. One moment. Okay, can someone give me some feedback that you can see
we can
my
see
screen?
it.
in the
Yep,
orange slide?
we got it, thank you.
Perfect. Well, as Mayor Boland just said, we're here tonight to discuss the CDBG-DR Infrastructure Action Plan Amendment Number 1. Excuse the typo there, that is not a special town council meeting, but it is special in my opinion as well. But we can go ahead and kick this off. And I'll try, there will be some repeat information from our special town council meeting back in September. But I'll try and make that pretty brief. But again, capture kind of the essence of the overall item if you were just tuning in for the first time. So after the fire in developing our long-term recovery plan, these were our major categories of work or projects that were identified as priorities in the recovery. With that, most of that was centered, or a lot of it was centered in the safer category in arenas. And along that, there was very significant transportation and public right-of-way related items between improving evacuation routes, establishing an interconnected path system, finding and filling in those missing road segments, and resolving long dead-end streets, and of course, undergrounding utilities. With that, our follow-up to the long-term recovery plan was the development of our transportation master plan through EDA grant funding as well. And that included workshops and technical analysis, regional coordination, and surveys from the community on how to identify which projects would help achieve those objectives we have previously set forth for the community recovery plan. And so as a part of the disaster recovery and the having a presidentially declared disaster enters the CDBG-DR funding that is congressionally appropriated disaster recovery funds to support the recovery process. So through that, it's congressionally appropriated, then it lands with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and is administered at the state level by the California Housing and Community Development Division. So our 2018 allocation for infrastructure was $317 million. And back in February of 2022, Paradise Town Council adopted a resolution declaring certain projects unmet needs and authorized staff to submit for funding consideration. Again, all of these projects here listed were community-driven based on the feedback we received in our year-long outreach process and the Transportation Master Plan. So with that, we submitted 60 total projects, including the sewer, identifying over $800 million in unmet needs for those projects. We'll also note here that Paradise Irrigation District did submit several projects under the town's name as the eligible applicant, and PID is an eligible subrecipient to the town. With that, earlier this year, I believe it was August, HCD announced $199 million of the $317 being made available to the town of Paradise. Projects received were screened for eligibility, and funding was apportioned to the applicants based on the overall unmet need of the program compared to the funding available. So that was about 27%, again, of that $800 million that we applied for. So with that, in addition, the Paradise Sewer Project was allocated an additional $30 million to administer the design phase of the project, as was previously mentioned tonight. So of that, we decided to develop this action plan with a distinct purpose. One is to provide and document the context, approach, and overview of the potential use of the allocated funds, but it's also a communication tool between staff and the council and the community and HCD, who is administering the program as well. So we're working with them, communicating about this action plan and making sure, in the spirit of no surprises, that these projects are moved forward and they're moved forward in compliance with the goals and objectives of the program. So our plan is to annually update this as far as our budget processing, but the reason why we're here tonight for amendment number 1, only a couple of months from the original adoption of the plan, was when critical issues develop requiring council action, such as changes to the recommended project list. So again, to recap, our total allocation is $229 million, including the Paradise Sewer Project special allocation. And with that, Paradise Irrigation District did, as I mentioned, submit as an eligible subrecipient. Their total project submission of eligible projects was just over 13 million. So with our pro rata distribution of our 27% that we received, we applied the same formula to Paradise Irrigation District's eligible project list, and so that's about a $3.5 million allocation the town will be making to PID. And with that, we are, as the subrecipient to the program with HCD, it is our role to take on a monitoring and compliance role over PID's use of the funding. So that's something that we'll be keeping an eye on and working with PID very closely into the future for their projects to make sure they're successful as well. But I wanted to bring that up because we will need to bring forward to the council a similar agreement that the town will sign with HCD, that we will be signing with PID, that governs the use of these funds. So again, here's our funding picture after the PID allocation, leaving about $226 million for allocation towards eligible projects. And so with that, the overall program objectives were to stabilize our overall fiscal sustainability plan through the allocation of disaster recovery and mitigation projects with previously unfunded match requirements. That was a biggie, especially as we have significant FEMA PA, federal highways projects such as our road rehabilitation. There was a significant unfunded match requirement that we've been moving along for the last 4 years, knowing that this was an opportunity that we would be able to backfill and use these CDBG DR funds for that match requirement. But also to implement a diverse array of infrastructure projects identified through our long-term recovery plan and the transportation master plan that either address evacuation capacity, connect any roads, or complete missing road segments, which would have been utilized during the 2018 Camp Fire. So to get to our recommended project list, this is just a quick table of our project listing that we adopted back in September. Here's the page 1, project name, the type of project, whether it was a match being filled or a new standalone infrastructure project. And then here to the right is kind of the total project cost and the amount CDBG DR participating. Here's the page 2 again. Early warning system has a match being filled through this project, as well as a couple of other projects here listed: signs, culvert, sidewalks, and Neal Road rehab. But with that, in October, we heard of staff recommendations, and it was actually made official last Thursday that the California Transportation Commission adopted a recommendation for funding to the town of Paradise in the amount of $41 million across 3 projects. Of those 3, it's the Penn Student Pathway, which would be really phase 2 of what was recently completed in front of Paradise Ridge Elementary School. That type of work with the center two-way left turn lane, the Class 1 bicycle path between Billy and Wagstaff. So that project was selected for phase 2 funding, which would complete the overall segment all the way from Pearson Road north to Skyway. Obviously, we'd skip the part that was recently completed between Billy and Wagstaff. In addition, our Neal Pathway project was selected, which is Neal Road between Skyway and town limits, that will have a Class 1 bike path. again, I'll mention the active transportation program is for projects that only benefit the increase or use or availability of infrastructure for walking or biking in the community. And then our third project for funding was the Skyway Link project. This one is new as far as I'm sorry, the name is new, but we've been talking about it a lot as far as widening Skyway between Billy and Wagstaff. So this project was included to install sidewalks and a Class 1 bike path along Skyway between Billy and Wagstaff, and that was also selected for funding. Also, these projects present great opportunities to use CDBG-DR funding, and I'll get into that in a minute, to take care of the items of work the community wants to see completed that aren't eligible under this program, such as adding the center two-way left turn lanes. So with that, this program was overall very competitive. 434 projects were submitted, I believe, for a total over $3 billion. And only 93 projects were selected, including the towns 3 here listed. So the reason why this information is convening with the action plan is that Pence Pathway project was on the list for our townwide CDBG-DR recommended project list from September at about $23 million for the overall right-of-way, design, environmental tie-up work, and construction. So with that, also the Neil Pathway and Skyway projects were on our reserve project list. So of the 41 million, 23 just became available essentially for adding additional projects to the list or addressing other priorities here that I'll be discussing here in a moment. So one of which is our off-system roads improved project. If you were watching our council meeting last month, we have an item where we asked the council to approve staff to submit our off-system road rehabilitation project for approval as an improved project to FEMA. This action caps the total project cost at $38 million, but allows the town to proceed with less restrictions on the use of the funding to improving the town's overall roadways. I'll note that this was administratively approved by Cal OES within the last couple of weeks, and we're working with FEMA on the final environmental review clearances on the improved project status. And so we expect that to happen hopefully in January so we can get the second half of our road projects out to bid for 2023. But with this, as I mentioned, the project is capped, so to offset the risk of cost increases, staff is recommending an additional $5 million contingency added to the town's off-system road rehabilitation project to cover any unexpected cost increases as delivery progresses through 2025. The source of this contingency will be the newly unallocated CDBG-DR infrastructure funds that I was just discussing that's made available through the Active Transportation Program funding awards. So to kind of provide a summary of the overall changes between the original action plan and to today, I have these 5 bullet points. So one is to update the project list to reflect funding from the ATP Pence Pathway Award and use of the CDBG-DR project funding as our local match. That project does come with a match requirement, so there is funding set aside to fulfill the match there. Move the Neil Road Path and Skyway Path projects from reserve to recommended project lists and use CDBG-DR to come as the matching fund, as well as this is the big one that is being moved to kind of a project that's unfunded and unlikely to receive funding anytime soon, is the Oliver Curve project from the reserve to recommended project list. And that's a project that proposes to build a Class 1 bike path along Oliver Road from Skyway, essentially connecting Terry Ash Park and reach all the way to Billy Road, and then head west and connect to Billy Park. And so there would be a continuous Class 1 bike and pedestrian pathway connecting Terry Ash and Billy Park. And the reason why that's also important is it's a very important safety project for pedestrians, especially around that curve, as well as, again, doubling as an evacuation asset for those Class 1 bike paths consistent to our long-term recovery plan. Okay, getting back to the bullet point summary, is adding a $5 million contingency to our off-system road rehabilitation project to account for the improved project status. And then the last kind of administrative policy item that I have here is establishing a policy for any new project savings, whether that comes through, we are awarded additional grant funds for projects that are already on this list, or simply if projects come under budget. Those newly available funds, per this policy, and what we're asking for concurrence on, is that they would dedicate available funds to the Paradise Sewer Project construction phase. Currently, we're allocated $30 million for design and $15 million for construction. So I'm going to jump really quick, one moment, to the actual action plan document itself. I'm assuming you can still see my screen and change here, and I'm going to jump to the project list. So here's kind of the one-page summary of the proposed use of the $226 million. There we go. So here's the bottom line, the $226 million. Here's our overall priority list of our types of projects, with 1 through 9, kind of going through those projects we previously discussed and the ones that I've added tonight, as well as identifying of our match requirements, the priority list of 1 through 9 there. Again, this table summarizes the project type. It hits on our national objective, which is a condition of the overall program administered through HUD, whether it's unmet need or whether it benefits low, moderate income areas. And then here in this column identifies the overall total project cost, and then the CDBG-DR project grant amount that's in our action plan here tonight. So with that, you can see the overall total project cost of what we're talking about is $539 million. And of that, we have $226 million leveraged through the CDBG-DR program. And I would like to show a quick map of where these projects occur. Here's the overall map, and I know this is probably difficult to see, so I'm going to zoom in. First, I want to mention that this map does not show projects that have service areas that are town-wide or close to it, like our Paradise Sewer Project, early warning system, other FEMA PA projects that I previously discussed. But here at the top of town, we can kind of quickly summarize these projects as intersection improvements at Skyway and Pence, Forest Service road improvements, potentially connecting Clark Road to Skyway through Forest Service Road, whether it be for emergency vehicles only or for general circulation. That's still to be determined. With that, we can move to the Pence Road widening project that would add and supplement and complement the previous active transportation program grant we discussed, is to widen the actual roadway itself to provide more capacity for that safety two-way left turn lane. Similarly, for the Skyway widening and the Skyway pathway we discussed, looking at the Elliott Road or Nunnally Road extension over to Pence Road, the Oliver Curve pathway, intersection improvements at the Foster and Black Olive intersection, the Neal Road pathway and the Neal Road rehab effort. And then one of the biggest projects on our list is the Road Extension Phase 1, which would connect South Libby, Sawmill, Edgewood, and Pence Road together, again, in some form to benefit future evacuation events if that was required to have an additional route out. So with that, I'll go ahead and jump back to our presentation to wrap this up, and we'll get to questions. Okay. And so here's some quick stats. Our action plan by the numbers, $23 million is now funded through this program for previously unfunded match requirements. And we have 203 dedicated to new standalone infrastructure projects. Moving on, $94 million is dedicated towards our long-term recovery plan priority of evacuation routes, $45 million towards the sewer system, $70 million towards missing road segments, and $15 million towards interconnected pathways. Again, to mention earlier, the leverage and kind of the purpose of this program isn't to be the first line of funding. It's really meant to be after the dust settles, after everything is done, or at least some of the most common funding types is allocated for disaster recovery. This program really comes at the end to leverage and identify what's left and what remains. And while we know we have significant unmet needs still, I'd say this is really an unprecedented project list and amount to be allocated to one jurisdiction through this program. So with that, we have $226 million of funding, leveraging about $539 million worth of project. While this number does include the $179 million that we're still seeking for the sewer project construction phase, it's still quite impressive nonetheless. So to close on next steps, these are the identified milestones for administering and delivering these projects through housing and community development. We've completed a lot of this work already. Authorizing resolution has been presented and adopted by the council. We've been going through our due diligence review with HCD and provided a lot of documentation there. And we expect to receive the master standard agreement, which will likely be the next item council reviews and considers relating to this program early next year as well, to kind of sign one agreement that governs the overall allocation process. From there, we kick off our follow-up project applications for our listed priorities, and then be issued our notice to proceed on starting to deliver these projects in spring of 2023. As far as the town, we're looking to pass our due diligence review, execute those agreements, and then really kick off those procurements. We're forecasting probably north of $30 million worth of contracts, whether that be environmental review or alternatives analysis on which projects make the most sense, and design and right-of-way. There's a lot of community engagement still to be had on these projects. So all of those efforts need to be delivered. And so those are what we're forecasting here early next year. So tonight, I know we'll hit some questions, and then when we come back, I did want to bring this back just so it made us have a little bit easier approach for modifying or considering accepting or modifying the action plan, is taking this in pieces. One, as far as the action plan with all projects except the Paradise Sewer Project and the Forest Service Road Project. 2, the action plan with just the Paradise Sewer Project, and 3, the action plan with the Forest Service Road Project. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. And go back to project-specific information. I'm available for any of your needs at this time. Thank you so much.
This is not your fault, but I always feel like I'm drinking out of a fire hydrant every time you give your report. You do a great job, but man, it's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Real quick, just thank you. Good job on that 41 million. That's, I don't know how you guys keep doing this, but this is a blessing. So good job.
Thank you.
So I was just curious, Mark, you started your presentation by saying, I'm going to do this, make this kind of brief. So that was brief?
That was about as brief as we can get. I could have gone project by project.
You know, I appreciate that. My other question is, you broke it up into 3 action items here. That last one, Forest Service Road, since I live on that road, I assume I'll have to recuse myself on that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mark. Nice job. Very good job. Hey, just a quick question. On the off-road culvert system, does that include the one that we already did, or is this in addition to?
So, can you clarify your question? Was that for the off-system road project?
Correct.
So we actually have not delivered any of our off-system road project through FEMA PA. The one that you've seen on Skyway is through Federal Highways in the Emergency Relief Program. So that one's on system. And the difference really is kind of between considering something like Skyway versus something like Circlewood. So with that, we've been pending with FEMA since March of last year about this scope change request. And so most recently, they advised that an improved project was the best route. So we took that action. Now we're waiting for the follow-up closeout on that decision so we can get to work in 2023 on our system roads.
Perfect. Thank you. Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, Ron here. I'm going to ask you a question I keep asking you, and that is your staffing level to handle this magnitude of projects, especially the project management aspect, and I realize you'll contract a lot of that out. I'm just concerned with so many moving parts and all that. Are you still convinced you're staffed high enough in order to manage the oversight of these projects so we get them delivered on time?
Yes, thank you for the question, Councilmember Lasan. I appreciate it, and we're really grateful for the amazing team that we have and the amazing team that we continue to build. We have a capital projects manager, excellent individual who started late last week. We've gone through interview process and started the background for our infrastructure program manager. So the team really is coming together, and it's happening right on time as this program kicks off. And as we get into it, it'll be something we'll continue to evaluate. But as we meet today, we're really satisfied with where we sit, and we'd like to get this program rolling. And one thing I didn't hit on is the schedule of these projects. Many of them are going to continue for the long haul, some of which all the way through 2027 and 2028. But we'll start seeing some of these projects be completed as early, the non-match projects as early as 2024 and 5. But with that said, we'll have chances along the way to evaluate the workload. I'll also mention that we are in background with our third construction inspector. We're trying to, again, find that right balance of long-term staffing sustainability, because even though these projects are significant, they do have a sunset date, even though they are 8 years down the road, likely on some of them, is trying to find that right balance for the long haul. So today, we're feeling really happy. We'll continue to monitor it, especially as we pivot from maybe environmental review to construction or design and right-of-way. Those will provide different milestones for us to evaluate the workload and capacity of the individuals that we have. But as I mentioned, we're not going to be able to do this alone as staff, and similarly to our previous $10 million on-call contracts delivering kind of the on-system road design and the design of the road projects that you've heard, the recovery projects we earlier discussed. They've been ongoing, but at any given moment, we were leveraging probably 100 to 300 employees and 60 unique position classifications amongst the private sector. So we anticipate that to continue, but span of control is something we're reviewing and constantly evaluating. But again, to close, and I'll finish, is today we're feeling good, and we'll continue to monitor it as we go forward. But it should be pretty solid for at least the next 6 months to a year.
Okay.
So that was a yes?
So the answer is yes.
I just want to make sure.
Sorry, that was long.
No, it's okay. I just want to make sure.
So what was the question?
No, you're good. You're good. All right. Any other questions?
Let's vote.
Any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Nobody wants to speak to this? Okay, the first action would be all projects except sewer and Forest Service Road.
I can vote on this one.
Me too.
Oh, do you need a motion?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Culleton, seconded by Tryon. So this is all except the sewer and Forest Service Road. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Boland.
Aye. So I'm going to recuse myself on this one. You guys can take it from here.
So moved.
Do we have a motion?
I so move.
Motion made by Colton, second by Lassonde. Roll call vote, please.
Culleton, Lassonde. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Boland is absent. All right.
Okay, so we're back to, that was a sewer. You looked perplexed, but that was a sewer one.
Make a motion for action plan with Forest Service Road project.
Thank you.
Second.
So motion was by Tryon?
Yes.
Tryon and Lassonde. Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton is absent. Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Boland.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody.
Good job, Mark, thank you. You looks like you need some furniture in the background there, though.
Yeah, thank you.
I want the beach next time.
Yeah.
We need some pictures.
Okay, we're moving on to 6E. Upon conclusion of public discussion of this agenda item, adopt either the recommended action or alternate action. Consider waiving the first reading of the town ordinance number
623.
read by title only and introduce town ordinance number
623.
An ordinance amending the Paradise Municipal Code, Section 8.04.020.1, related to abatement, warrants, injunctions, and civil penalties. This is Scott.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've been working on code enforcement for some time, as you all well know. One of the things that we were charged with was looking at where we could streamline the process. And as it relates to trees, we can go get an abatement warrant from the court. The code specifically allows that. The nuisance code, the nuisance abatement code did not allow for that. So while this is a small change, this actually has a huge, huge impact. So with most nuisance abatement cases, we send multiple letters, and if someone doesn't comply, then we have to go file a lawsuit and name them as a defendant, and then serve them, and then they have 30 days to answer, and then we appear before a judge, and it's a long process. In many instances, it would be much easier to file for a nuisance abatement warrant, which allows the town to go in on a 15-day window to abate the nuisance on the property. The nuisance would be abated. We would then be able to lien the property on the back end, and ultimately, and I don't want to say that it's quick, but ultimately we would be able to recover the costs from that lien on the property. So in looking at the code, we're proposing this change because it will really streamline the process. In particular, once we have, how should I put it, maybe some, in March or April, some real potential issues that may come our way, this will allow us to streamline the process to abate significant public nuisances in a more streamlined fashion, in a quicker fashion, and in a way that will allow it to be done, again, instead of multiple months, within about 18 to 19 days total following the final notice. So staff is recommending that the ordinance be approved to add in that the town can apply to the court for an abatement warrant, granting the town the authority to eliminate nuisance conditions. This does not only apply to just certain categories of nuisances. This applies to all of them. Where previously this was only available to just, nuisance trees that were a danger and a hazard, with this amendment, it would apply to all code violations that warrant the abatement of a nuisance.
Does this change code enforcement and how they handle things now?
No.
Okay.
This would just make it so that once code enforcement has jumped through all of the hoops, and once they've gotten to the end of their options, this would really streamline the legal process.
So it's after they're done? Then you step in and...
Yes.
Okay.
So this will be for RVs as well as trees?
Yep.
Okay.
Weeds.
Any code violation.
Yep.
Okay, so the only question I have is, okay, let's say we have an abandoned lot. It's full of dead trees, it's full of weeds, it's full of garbage, it's full of stuff. And so code enforcement, we've done all this stuff. So now we go get this 15-day thing or whatever, and we go in and abate it.
Yep.
And let's say it costs $5,000 to fix it. Now we put a lien on the property.
Yep.
And the property doesn't, if the property were to sell, then our lien would be there. But if there were other liens, tax liens or other things, where would we fall in that?
These liens actually jump in order of preference. It will not supersede a tax lien, but it will supersede a regular mortgage.
Okay. That was my question, because, and then we're going to run into a thing where some properties are so devalued after the fire that the cost of abatement, property doesn't, there's no value there. Okay. But
Yeah, and again, those determinations
But it
can be.
gets us there quicker. It gets us-
Those determinations can be made on the front end. Do you want to do that or not? And
Because you know what I notice is people that are living here, that are trying to put their life back together, or maybe aren't living here, but they still own their property, you know, and they're getting citations, they're getting letters, or, you know, they're doing whatever. And some of them, you know, and then we have properties that are completely abandoned, especially the commercial properties that are owned by commercial, you know, by businesses. And they're in violation. And it's just like somebody here trying to keep, yeah, it just, that, you know, it's kind of like, we need to go in and clean up because it's really hard to go to somebody who's trying to keep their life together, rebuild their life. Say, oh, here's a ticket because your weeds are too tall. And yet there's all around them these properties that are just, anyway, I'll stop.
So, Scott, does this expose the town to any adverse effects by going this expedited route or anything, or is it just like the other one, just faster?
it's like the other ones, just faster. This would, again, this would be us applying to the court for an order to go abate the nuisance. Once we have that order, it's a court order. That gives us protection.
So no additional exposure?
Right.
Okay.
And the reason we weren't doing it this way before is we needed to get the track record established.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So, back to the question of, I understand when the property is sold, then we're paid back. Do we have any say on the price that property is sold at?
Yes and no. So you have some. What will happen is again, this does not step in front of tax liens.
Right.
So tax liens will always be paid first. You then are next in line. You can, if no one else, you can do what's called under the Revenue and Tax Code, under Chapter 8, you can object to, if the town wants the property, you can object to the sale, and for the price of the underlying tax lien and your lien, you can obtain the property if you want it. If you don't want it, then it will go for whatever the amount of the full amount of the liens on the property is.
Which quite often that's an auction.
It's typically an auction, and it's typically done by the county assessor. They do them, it ranges between, for residential
Right.
properties, between 5 to 7 years. For
Right.
commercial, it's 3 to 5.
Right.
But again, liens from a mortgage aren't usually covered by this tax sale process. It's really, they're only looking to cover the tax lien and any other liens. And again, the town lien would be next in line. And so you could make a determination if, for example, if you were okay getting partial money back and someone were there saying, I'm going to use an example. Let's say the tax lien and the town lien was $30,000. I'm just going to use a round number. If the person standing there said, I'm only paying 28, and you're holding a $5,000 lien, you could make a determination at that point, we're okay letting it go for 28, we'll get 3 instead of 5, but the property is now sold to someone who's going to do something with it.
So who monitors that sale? Do they let us know that?
Yes,
Do we
they
know
do.
that's happening? We don't have to sit there and watch every property?
Nope,
and
we don't. The lien is recorded, so whenever the tax collector sends out a notice, they send it to all interested parties who
Okay.
are on the
Okay.
property tax roll.
So we have a heads up before it all?
We would get a notice in the mail.
So who in the staff gets that notice, and how do they notify us that it's happening, or do we need to know about it?
Well, it typically will come to the city clerk, who will then bring it to collectively our attention, the town manager and town council, and then we'll let the council know about it, and you'll have some time to figure it out. These things usually will happen in bulk because they do it on an annual basis. The tax collector sells these properties on an annual basis. We're likely going to get a list of them.
One thing.
Or it could they could pay their taxes and it just has this lien sitting on it and could be for a long period of time.
Could be, although,
Yeah, could be.
it could be.
Yeah.
Although if they do pay their taxes and they don't pay this lien, they're not going to get any other loans on that property.
Right.
So
It
if-
just sits there.
It'll sit there until they do something with it.
Well,
yeah.
and then the thing, if it's like, say, it's a weed thing, abatement, they're gonna come back, I mean, they're gonna get a fine, you know.
Could be, but you also would have the ability to foreclose on that lien after a certain amount of time. So you could force the issue after a certain number of years, and I think it's 5.
But to Ron's question, in other words, if we pass this, and this is part of our codes, so this is the process we use, and we clean a property up and we apply the lien on the property, it's kind of just a function of staff. I mean, in other words, if the property sells and the lien is paid off with, you know, I mean, it's not like something we have to go vote on, is it? I mean, it would be, I understand, if it was a partial payment. If there wasn't enough funds and we had to agree on that, then the staff couldn't make that decision without.
Correct.
But other than that, it's just, I think it's just part of part of what they do, you know, for us.
Kevin, you had something?
Yeah, so just on that tax lien sale, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but because of the declared disaster, there is a moratorium on those tax liens for 5 years, which stops the clock. And then the clock starts after 5 years. So you're 10 years out before you're getting to this point. So to think about us getting these tax lien sales within our jurisdiction anytime soon, just remember that it's going to be a long period of time before you see these monies
We're
come
6 years, we're 1 more year into the 5,
right?
and then we're 5 more years, so we're 6 years.
Correct, exactly.
But the beauty is that we can, instead of it taking 3 months and $7,000 to $10,000 to go remove a trailer or clean up a mess, we can do it in 15 days. I mean, and we're gonna have to front the money, but I think it's more important we get things cleaned up. Yeah.
Any cards on this?
I have no cards on this item.
Anybody wish to
So
speak?
it does not reset the clock every time we add.
No, you can speak if you want to speak.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, you really piqued my interest with this one because Brian's not here, I know it. He's been writing letters to people who have high hazard trees that qualify for phase 4. You can get them down to only 25% of the cost of taking a tree down, right? We get 75% is going to cover the other cost. That's really a great deal. Now, I spoke to my next door neighbors about the 2 high hazard trees well over a year ago. I wrote to them and sent them pictures after more of the branches had broken off. Well, this last storm, one of those trees came down and went through the neighbor's fence. Now, my neighbor Joanne's not very happy. She's lost maybe $500 to $1,000 worth of fence. They have been warned. Brian tells me they're liable. But this is a good example when they should have, by not responding either in my letters or Brian's letters, long time ago, to get a letter from the attorney saying, guess what? That town's going to take action against your property here. Maybe they would have responded to that because they haven't responded to any of the other thing. I think this is a positive way to go. And, you know, the town's nasty letter is not nasty. The language is fairly kind, actually, you know. You want to give the people a chance to do the right thing. Maybe there's, without swear words, maybe the letters need to be a little harsher somehow.
When they get the attorney's letter, it's not quite so nice.
Fine, let's send more of those.
Well, that's what this will allow us to do,
I
to do
have 2
that
other
sooner.
neighbors in the same boat. I mean, Tom's Tree Service said, if I'm not hauling it away, I'll drop it for $500. To just drop a tree in wide open spaces, and no response from the neighbor. That's just.
Then it becomes a hazard.
Let's do this.
But, yeah, we're trying not to be hard on people, but we do want them to get the message. All right, any motions?
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Tryon, seconded by Colleton. Waive the first reading of Town Ordinance Number 623 and read by title only, and introduce Town Ordinance Number 623, an ordinance amending Paradise Municipal Code, Section 8.04.020.1, relating to abatement warrants, injunctions, and civil penalties. Roll call vote. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Boland.
Aye.
The second reading will be at the January meeting, and then the ordinance will go into effect 30 days after that.
Thank you. All right, 6F, consider adopting the attached and proposed Third Amendment to the franchise agreement. Oh, between the Town of Paradise and Northern Recycling and Waste Services. This would be Kevin.
Yes, and I don't have as nice a presentation, or I will not do as good of a job as Susan Harmon would do with this, but I think we can get through this. So we're asking for a concurrence for the Third Amendment to the franchise agreement, striking the surcharge for street sweeping. So in 2017, the amendment was made to the franchise to include street sweeping as a surcharge to the commercial accounts to pay for street sweeping. Obviously, through the fire, NRWS has lost a majority of their commercial accounts, which has limited their amount of funding available for the street sweeping. In that time, the Solid Waste Committee has been meeting with NRWS and talking about services coming back. One of the big ones that has been brought back recently was green waste. And then this was an other item that we talked about if we keep it in the franchise or we keep it out. Within that, we were able to get a USDA grant opportunity to actually purchase our own street sweeper. So a 60%, 40%, it actually turned out to be about 50-50 cost share between the USDA grant and local match on that, which Measure V has actually come forward and is decided to pay for that extra match. This gives the town the control over street sweeping, where we can do it on an as-needed basis within our own control and as we see needed when the roads are being repaved, to make sure that those new roads are being swept on a regular basis, and that it's funded by the town itself. With that agreement, we talked to NRWS about taking that additional fund that was collected between 2019 and December 31st, 2022, and taking those funds and applying it to the purchase of our street sweeper, so that it shows that that money actually was spent towards street sweeping, which they've agreed to. So what we're asking for is basically the Third Amendment to be striking out the requirement for NRWS to collect on that through their commercial accounts, and also doing the street sweeping within the town. Doug Spiker's here from NRWS, if he has any questions about that.
There was an issue when we had this before about the waste that we picked up, and you guys hauled it off. Is that something they're going to be doing, or is that something we were responsible for hauling off at this point?
Good evening, and thank you.
Good to have you here.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council. I'm assuming that, and it really depends on the material. You know, before, we had a lot more trees, so we had a lot more organics within our street sweepings. Now you see the streets, there's a lot more of the gravel, sands, who knows what other heavy metals. So I think those are gonna be some things that I think Mark is gonna probably really be assessing. We are available for that. I think the best solution is gonna be to landfill it.
Okay.
I think that's gonna be the cheapest, and I know that's something that Mike and Candace and Mark have been discussing, but we'll definitely.
Yeah, I think that's where we were headed to, that it would hit the landfill, and you know, if it needed time to dry out or something, it would be kind of placed on.
So
on
it
site.
lands at the old green waste area, and then we take it from there, or what's?
It would be directly to the landfill.
Be a transfer.
Transfer to the landfill.
From there to the landfill.
To send a street sweeper all the way to Neal Road.
No, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Excess wear and tear.
Right.
So, I think that was the assumption, was there would be a bunker and then loaded.
Load it from
right
there.
away.
Okay.
Yeah. Being that I think the majority of it is an inert material, there's not gonna be any, from what I understand, any permitting issues. So, but there's gonna be some other opportunities. I know with 1383 coming on, we're gonna be re-permitting our transfer station to where we're gonna have to have a bunker to handle that. So we could probably address a lot of that at the same time, so.
How are things going for you guys?
It's going, you know, the equipment and, you know, a lot of the delays in town are it's time consuming. We'll be actually sending out some notices. We're actually, which is a good thing, rerouting. We're gonna be doing in the first quarter of 2023. And that's a lot of it because we're exceeding our weight capacities now on our garbage trucks because we went from 6 residential routes within town daily to just 2. So now one has been doing trash, one has been doing the recyclable, the divertible commodity, and we're exceeding the weight capacity. So we're gonna actually go back to our same model where the one route does a specific area. They do the solid, the garbage, dump it at Neal Road, then go back through that same route area. So it's the same driver picking up that next commodity. That is until we actually adopt the 1383 and the 341.
Explain what those are.
That's the organics.
Right.
There's,
Food scraps.
some things coming through the pipes. It's actually rolled out, if you recall, you just created an organics ordinance. So we'll be implementing that. Barring equipment, we tried ordering, and I don't want to follow Mark in his, but we found out today that the trucks that we had on order just got kicked out, that were supposed to be coming in 2024, because equipment orders are so far out. Like even right now, we've been trying to order loaders for one of our other projects that we just rolled out in Yolo County, and we can't even get a build date on those. So it's gonna be very difficult. So right now I'm looking at used vehicles, because I think that's gonna be something that we'll be talking more about as the Solid Waste Committee and bringing back to council. But I think it was important for, at this point, to really, that's been a big bone of contention, is that street sweeping. We've been collecting those fees, didn't really have enough fees to really warrant being able to go out and actually do that work. And you can see the streets are loaded with material right now. So I think that the street sweeper is gonna be very busy right off the bat. And it's gonna be something that I agree with, is maintaining a lot of those roads that are being replaced. And there's a lot of roads we don't even want a street sweeper on. With all the alligatoring and all the cold patch, you'll be just picking
Tearing
that up.
it up, yeah.
But you do not want to take that to the landfill.
Right.
So, I think we'll definitely be looking at some different options. My hope is that it can get back to where hopefully, at least in the fall, we can actually divert some of that to the organics. Whether that be taking it, processing it somehow, really, and it's us really looking at it. What's really in there as far as contaminants, as far as that gravel, sand. Unfortunately, you get a lot of the commercial business landscapers they've been accustomed to just blow that out into the streets. We get a lot of the cigarette butts and, the different trash that's contaminants. So we don't really want to put that into any type of a compost or any type of soil amendment, so.
And that, I know we're not there yet, but that is a very good point. And I see that a lot of times where they're just blowing stuff out in the streets, and that we have an ordinance against that. They're not supposed to be doing that.
Is that
And
enforced?
It's very difficult to enforce because
Okay.
you got to catch them right when they're doing it, but you see it a
That's where
lot.
I have to give a shout out to the Public Works crew, because I know Candace, for one, was a big one that would help. When she saw that, she would stop and say something. I could give you a pretty good list of where those locations are. Really, it doesn't take a whole lot to figure out. You can see it's on the curb.
And I don't want to bust people's chops, but I think that's important. They're paying them to take care of that product and take it away. Or put it in a dump, put it in a box, like, and you come by and pick it up. But they're not doing that. They're just blowing it out in the streets, and I think that's something we need to be seriously looking at, because I see that. So, thank you
I'm here
for.
for any other questions.
Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Okay, what's the wish? Any cards? Yes.
I have a card from Ward Habriel.
Oh, who'd have thought?
So, some compliments, Doug. The green waste facility, getting that open, absolutely huge. This for $20, which I think is pricey, but how much time you save going anyplace else? Easy in, easy dump, easy out for $20. Heck of a deal. Last month's Cal Recycle report indicated that there is now $632 million in the California Redemption Value Fund because there's not enough places to take cans and bottles back.
Nobody takes
Not
it.
enough.
Nobody takes
And
it.
we don't have one here. And Winco just last week went to 50 containers maximum at a time in limited hours. And they're one of the few places to take them. I know, besides me, 3 people that have complained about the recycler down at the Highway 70 Industrial Park in Orville, which is a long ways to go to save, what, $2 worth of cans and bottles? The scales aren't accurate. Getting some CRV collection and reimbursement here would be a big help.
Thank you. Warden? What's the wishes of the council?
Move approval of this item.
Do we have a second? Rose, second.
Motion by Culleton, seconded by Tryon. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Boland.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Council initiated agenda items. I think we just brought up one, right? If we could, with Doug, if we could talk about working together with, if you guys could work together with him as far as getting that. I don't know if that's an agenda item, that's something those people that are blowing stuff out in the streets and all that kind of stuff, so I'm just saying,
Got it.
thank you.
Yep, I'm just gonna nod.
Is there anything else?
So we do have a council-initiated item to discuss
Right.
establishing healthcare.
Right. That would be, I just want to know if anyone else had anything first.
For future.
Okay, and then, Mr. Crowder? 71A1.
Yeah, I think it's important that we establish a health care committee to return emergency services here in Paradise. We've been working a lot with Adventist Health, had numerous meetings, not much movement. So last week, Adventist Health settled with the Fire Victims Trust. And so I immediately contacted Chris Champion in Adventist Health, said, okay, there's one big stumbling block out, what about Paradise? Well, I kind of got the standard answer, well, we're going to have meetings on it, and we'll figure it out. Now, he did say that they were in the process, they were going to change the primary care clinic to an urgent care. More to come on that when they get it. They've got the money for it. I don't know anything about the operation, how long it's going to be or what have you. So in the meantime, I think it's really important that we put a committee together and we really stay on top of this. We look at other options. We need an emergency room here. We've had 3 years ago, our state legislators got it approved, and no progress has been making. It was only for 7 years, so 3 of those are gone. And it's only for Adventist Health. So whoever else would do it would have to start over. But talking to our legislators, I think they would be very happy to help do it again if we can make some movement on it. I would like to obviously be on that committee because I've been dealing with this. And I'd like to have one other council person. I know Ron has a lot of experience in his military and his public career. I think he'd be a good fit if everybody was agreeable to that. But I think we need to do it sooner rather than later and just keep on top of it.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for your work in this. I know you've been talking to them and pushing for this. So what does a committee look like? I mean, how does, you just take 2 council members? What does a committee look like?
I think we'll continue meeting with Adventist Health and
So this would be 2 council members, Kevin, and is there other people in the staff?
we could have other if needed. But we just need to separate ourselves out of the Adventist Health group and represent ourselves, Paradise.
Looking for healthcare, no matter who it is.
Correct, and getting answers and not excuses. So that's what my hope is with this committee.
All right,
Do you see anything, any issue with that real quick, Kevin?
No, and I think it's a really good way to solidify the council's direction that this is an important issue. It's one of the most important issues.
Yes, it is.
And I see it acting similar to the Solid Waste Committee, is that, we, on a monthly basis, we're meeting with NRWS, and if it wasn't NRWS, it'd be somebody else, and it was somebody else at one point in time when there was Waste Management was part of that, right? So it's that go-to committee that can talk to, if it's Adventist Health, then we talk to Adventist Health. If it's somebody else, that solidifies the need and the importance of that healthcare coming back to the Ridge. And then there's that constant communication back to the council, direction from the council on what they want to see that committee do. And then they have their direction moving forward, like, hey, just like with the NRWS, with the waste management, you told this committee, this is what we want to see. There was direction given to them to go back to that for negotiations. That's kind of how I see this committee working.
but I'm with Greg. I want to see, what does this committee look like? I don't think just you and two councilmen. I think if we're going to have a committee for this community to talk, health committee, to look at health services here, let's get a local doctor, or let's get some other professionals. Let's get a 3 or 4 person committee. So it does represent not just the people on the council or the staff, and also to a point Ron raised with Mark about the infrastructure stuff. We keep putting Kevin on all these little things to be with all these people. He has to run the whole town and all the staff and everything too. Like, his time gets limited at some point also. So why not try to ring in some other professionals, we have 2 people that will represent this council, but let's get some community members that are qualified, and we can have qualifications.
And I think that's a that's a good thing to do, and I think they can come back with a proposal
Yeah,
on
I
that.
mean,
I don't think we're saying we wouldn't want to do that.
No,
I think
no,
we
I
would.
didn't mean to imply that.
We do want to have additional help.
Yeah, but let's come back with
Yeah.
Is it a 5-member committee, a 3, whatever?
I just wouldn't, I'd be concerned that if we had somebody from Adventist Health on the
No,
committee.
no, I don't-
But
no, I
an
don't-
independent doctor or something like that, or
I don't think any
healthcare
of them,
provider.
other than their employees, work here. I mean, it would have to be somebody that would have could bring expertise to it and would help us,
Yeah, and I think I would hate to box yourself in to say we need 3 additional individuals. I think establishing your committee with your council members and then giving direction to those council members to say, you need to surround yourself with
Broaden the
experts, right? To surround yourself with other individuals who have an idea of what they want to see to be able to establish that. And then they can report back to you on who that is
right.
and what you've established. If you don't feel like that's good enough, then you tell them the direction back to them is, go get more, or you got too many, or whatever.
I think it's a great idea that what Steve brings up to, have a health committee. I guess what I'm looking for, what I advocate for, is how do we communicate to the public, to our community? If anybody out there is got some expertise in this field, we're putting together, just like you did with the committee you meet with, right? I mean, how do we invite people to be a part of? There's always that stigma of here we sit and we're doing things and they're all out there, and then we tell them what we've done, And
Well, I would say if you know somebody, bring it up to them, and let's do it. Are we in concurrence that we can have Ron and Steve do this? Is there anyone else that?
Yeah, I think the other key point that Kevin brought up is also report back to the council.
Yes.
So that we have an idea of what's going on too.
Yeah,
what the
and for
progress
me,
is.
this is looking for someone that wants to invest in Paradise. This is no different than Big Lots or anybody else, Tractor Supply. They want to invest in Paradise. We want a healthcare system that wants to invest in Paradise, and they see this as a place that's going to be, honestly, they're going to do very well, trust me. They just need to get off and start doing something, so. It looks like we have a.
Steve, I do have a question. So they talked about turning this, the current clinic into some type of,
Urgent care.
Urgent care.
isn't it, it's already
It's primary
operates
care.
that way?
Yeah, and it's not
Okay.
24/7 either right now.
And urgent
understand
care
that.
just gives them more, the ability to do, they still can't operate as an emergency room, but they can
Right.
get a lot closer to an emergency room than a primary care.
Okay, because I think they're basically already operating that way in a sense.
They aren't, and that's the problem, and they have not, one of the talks was, is it going to be staffed 24/7?
Okay,
And that is the talk, it's not a promise,
Yeah.
but what I question as far as how are you gonna staff it? Because right now, you're not even staffing it on the weekends when you're supposed to be. So it's licensed under their Clear Lake Hospital.
okay,
So what they would do is change it and have it licensed under the Marysville Hospital, so they could send staff from Marysville here to fill in, and hopefully that would give them the ability to do it 24/7.
perfect, thank you.
We have a card. Let me guess. Okay.
Yeah, the card is from Ward Habriel.
So it's 1969. I know that's before some of your time. We're up here visiting family that we have in Chico. And Grandpa says, "Hey, Ward, go to the store with me." Go to the store with me. We were about 10 minutes maybe, I don't know. 2.5 hours later, he has taken me on a tour from Chico through many roads in paradise and up into Miami. Grandpa, what are we doing? He said, "Me and Grandma, we're going to retire up here." I said, "You got at least 10 or 12 more years to work, and she's got 15 or 20. No, we're thinking about retiring now because you can buy cheap retirement property." He had already met Fortino's. He knew exactly what he's looking for. I think 2.5 hours later, I've got to turn it. Why on anybody's earth would you come up here? And the last thing he says is, "Hospital." He says, "We're going to be old. They got a hospital." They came back in 72 and bought property. They moved there in 75. 76, Grandma went to be a volunteer at the hospital. 4 years later, she actually went to work for the hospital and retired there after an additional 10 years on top of her Castle and Cook retirement. She was pleased as punch. So impressed with the facility. I didn't know until a long time later, I actually had a distant relative that worked there. He lived in Reno. But he transported over here and worked 4 days straight, 12 hours a day, and then went back to Reno to his family. Because it was so much better than what they had in Reno, where he was a male nurse. He moved here for that. Without it, this town is missing one of the most important things, one of the most important assets, like our Mr. Manager has said. That is a must to get some people back up here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we're in concurrent, yes.
A suggestion. for
Come
that-
on up to the mic so we can hear you.
A suggestion for that committee, I got a lot of friends that are firefighters here, and sometimes they're waiting a half hour to get an ambulance. Magalia's gone, and the one here's gone. Maybe a supervisor from Butte County EMS on that committee, so we can get stats of, what's going on and how much they're waiting, to maybe put a little more punch in it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that under advisement. Okay, Mr. Colton,
What?
7A2.
Okay.
Wait, do we need to take a vote to?
I don't think we need a vote. I think we have concurrence. And
So it's gonna
we said
put
it's
back on?
for these
Okay.
two to go, and they'll get back to us.
Okay?
Yep.
So, Ross leave?
No.
Hey, Ross. So, when I was on the council once before, we used to have a TOT, well, we still have, there still is a TOT tax. And we used to give 60% of the money is for transit occupancy tourism tax, right? So we'd give money to the chamber and to different organizations. And I'm not sure, my recollection is we gave money to the Chamber of Commerce, Gold Nugget Museum, and I believe the Paradise Performing Arts Center. I don't know if we included Theater on the Ridge in that.
Yeah, so I looked into that. It looks like the three organizations you just mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce, Gold Nugget Museum, and Performing Arts Center were the three that we did contribute to. Roughly about $100,000 annually of the approximately $200,000 or so on average that we collected before 2000.
Right, and I put this on the agenda because when we passed that other thing about, temporary housing where that deal, B&B stuff, we did that at a time, you weren't on the council maybe at that time, or maybe you just.
I was.
Yeah, but we did that because we were broke.
Right.
I mean, that's why we closed that town hall on Fridays, so the staff could have time to get their work done. We were understaffed in every department, and our revenues annually were $9 million or something. I mean, it just wasn't a lot. And so that was one of the reasons we did that. We're not broke anymore. And I don't mean that because we got the fire money. I mean that because a lot of things are going on, and so we've just been keeping all that money and putting it in the general fund. And we don't need to do that right now. And so it would really be a help, because part of what we have to do, we were always a veteran community. So taking that tourism money and redistributing at least a portion of it back to some of those entities that are making this a place to come to, be it the, I just think it's a good idea, and I think it's an investment in our future and our growth. And it's what we used to do. I hate to bring up that kind of thing. Well, that's how it used to be, it's what we used to do, but it is, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, we didn't pass anything yet, I don't believe, on the B&B, we didn't pass anything yet. So they were gonna come back to us.
We talked about it, yeah.
We talked about it, they were gonna come back to us with some proposals on the
But
TOT.
we currently have 2 motels in town, and
Right.
there's probably a couple of other places that maybe collect a TOT tax. I know that
Right.
that's where, and like right now, these places are full. They're full because of all the construction and
Right.
everything going on. And that's why if this other thing that we're gonna look at and possibly pass, there's probably other revenues out there that we're not collecting.
Right.
So that's why I put it on here. I would hope that we could give direction to staff to maybe come back with a proposal of how much we'd like to share with our partners in the community and who might get it. If it goes back to what it was and Paradise Performing Arts Center is one of the recipients, I would recuse myself because I work there and I'm on the board there. I just think it'd be a good investment in our community. That's it.
Scott, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna mention if the discussion goes much further with more specifics, I was gonna suggest that Councilmember Culleton may want to recuse himself, but so far it hasn't crossed the line, because I want to make sure that again, there's no issue with
No, it's
with
not
you.
about- yeah.
And again, it has been in general terms. It has been mentioned. There's been discussion about the past, but not about the future yet. So there's no issue. I was just sort of getting ready to go, just in case it went any further.
I was just trying to do full disclosure.
I got you.
Rose, you had something?
Yeah, so I have a quick question. Right now, everything's going into the general fund, so how would this affect our fiscal sustainability, our fiscal sustainability model?
Yeah, so I can speak in general terms of that and can bring back more specific analysis if desired. But currently, we're collecting about $200,000 annually in these TOT revenues. So when you look at that over, a 20-year projection period, that would be about, $4 to $5 million or so that would be less than what we're currently projecting at the end of that projection period. So currently we're looking at about, I think 56 million or so is what we're currently projecting at the end of that 20 to 25 year period. So it would be about, somewhere between $4 to $6 million less than that if those revenues continue the way they are currently.
So 56 million on what's that year span?
25 years.
Okay.
But you're saying we received approximately $200,000 a year, over 25, what we were sharing before was about 60% of that. So
Yeah.
you're really saying that it wouldn't deplete it by $5 million, it would deplete it by
Yeah,
half that.
so if we were to,
If we gave some
allocate
more.
a percentage of that, it would be that percentage less. That would be, yeah.
Thank you.
Ron?
Yeah, I know that the purpose of a TOT is because we have tourists that come in and use the services of the town. It's right for the town's general fund to be reimbursed partially from that because they're not paying tax monies. But the other hand, they also spend money in the community. So businesses like PPAC and others do gain from that. So I would like to make sure that we link something that is, how many tourists did you bring in, and make it not a permanent assignment, but either a yearly or twice every 2 years. They give them the money almost like a grant, and they have to reapply for it, because I want us to reward those who are bringing tourists in, not just because they have a building and things happen there, but because they have a building and they bring tourists in who are paying into that fund. So somehow, now I've been to other businesses that have asked me, what's my zip code? And I ask them, why are you asking that? And their answer was because they had to justify the grants they were getting from the towns by saying, oh, you're from this other town and therefore you're a tourist, and they had to justify that they were drawing people in. Obviously, you know, there are other businesses that wouldn't draw tourists in, and they wouldn't be candidates for this. But I think those that do draw tourists ought to be, part of the fund ought to be going to them. At least that's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up, and that is something we need to have a discussion on. Council reports on committee representations.
Can I just get, so,
No.
do we have a consensus direction? So I'm just looking for direction here. Direction moving forward is bringing back something for council consideration about how to distribute a portion of the TOT tax back to local organizations, with Ron's idea also associated with that, maybe as an option, that it would be then considered a grant, and then we would have another option where it would just be a direct allocation with no calculation on that, with a couple of those options on there, maybe a third option with
Leaving it the way it is.
leaving, yeah, that's always an option. So, yeah, so, okay, so does that sound, am I hearing this correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't-
I
Yeah,
think-
it doesn't, and it doesn't have to be what it was. It could be, the recommendation could be a different percentage. And maybe, you know, I don't agree with Ron's thing about, because it's not a grant thing, and it's not a thing for everybody to have to qualify, nor would we open it up to town. Maybe it's just we share part of that funding with the Chamber of Commerce that does do all of those other things. And even if it was given to them, where here's some grant money, you can, I don't know, but,
Okay.
you know, I
think I have good direction.
But I do think there is value in what
Well, I
he's
think
saying.
there is, yeah, no, I didn't mean to discount that, but.
We're giving money to PID, and we're holding them accountable to what we give them. Are they using it for the right things? You know, same thing here. Or we give money, is there accountability? I think there should be accountability to that. So we're held accountable. So I think everybody else should be too.
Yeah, we'll see when we do these reports of committees.
All right. Reports, committee representations. Can you start, Rose?
Oh, yeah. I attended my committees. I also attended EOC training. It was really interesting to watch it and see how everybody works together on that. That's about it.
Okay. Woody?
Well, nothing to report.
Steve?
I also went to the EOC training. It was a great event at the high school, the Rotary Career Day, and they had middle schoolers and high schoolers there, and there were probably over 100 vendors. The town had a big presence there. Kids really seemed to enjoy it. Seems to go over very good. They're looking at doing it again, I believe, in March or April. So that'll be good. Chamber had their installation dinner, the first one in after missing 2 years. Very, very well attended. Real positive things there. Went to the Parks and Rec tree lighting and gave a little speech out in the rain to the 4 people that were there. Big Lots ribbon cutting was, with weather, it wasn't that well attended, but, well, you know, you were there.
Yeah.
So that was good. Fire Safety Council had an annual summit, thank you. And it was about a half a day, and it discussed what they had done this last year and what the future plans was. It was really a informative event. It was packed and there was no more room. So that went over really well, and that's basically what I did.
I too went to the job fair, and I concur with what Steve had to say. It was well attended by both the students and by the different vendors. And I did talk to a number of folks about, the kids about it, and they very much were impressed with the variety of things that were out there. They also liked the dog, the police dog, things like that, but that was a good attend. And as far as the chamber event, we had 183 people there that attended. It was fairly well attended, a lot of awards given out to different folks for the things that they've done for the town. So something well worth supporting.
Good. Yeah, the ribbon cutting was great with Big Lots. That is, I'm not a Big Lots person. I've never been there before. So I walked around, man, they got everything there. I mean, it is incredible, the stuff they got there.
Did you buy that toy truck?
I didn't. I actually went back and got something. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. But that was very good. And again, I just appreciate the fact that they see value in investing in Paradise. And I think they're going to be very successful. I see that. I haven't talked to one person that is a shopper that doesn't say, oh my goodness, I am so happy that they're here. So great to them. And I know we got someone else coming in that shopping center here pretty soon. Don't know who it is, but that excites me to see people willing to invest in Paradise. LAFCO was nothing really to report. It was other stuff. It was El Medeo Fire District. We had to take that down and decommission that. And CAL FIRE is doing a great job, and they stepped in. They have stepped in, and they're just taking over. So that's been excellent. Be praying for Steve. He had some heart surgery, and he's having he's I guess he's doing okay, but it's going to be a recovery for him. So anyway, I was kind of shocked at that. Steve runs Lucas, yes, thank you. Couldn't think of his last name. He's run LAFCO for years, and all of a sudden he wasn't there. Where is he? He had heart surgery. So anyway, keep him in your prayers. Future agenda items? I think that I talked about. I think we did it already. Sorry. I already messed that up. All right. We're going to move into town manager report.
Yep, I'll keep it brief. One of the items, I know, unlike Mark, one of the things that I wanted to catch on that Business Expo too was that Community Development had their own booth there, which was really good. Public Works was there. The Fire Department had a really good presence, and then PD and Animal Control had a really good presence. So multiple departments there. One of the cool things was that Susan created a sign with all of the Paradise grads that work for the town. And it was over 30 employees were Paradise grads, Paradise High School grads. So that was really kind of cool to see how it's lead to employment with the town. And then I was asked to be on a panel for the Cal OES Mitigation Summit. It was the first that they've put on, and it was well attended by multiple different agencies, but ours was about local mitigation and how the pros and cons, some of the difficulties of putting it in place, and then some of the successes of putting it in place. One of the big positives was our panel was right after the keynote speaker, which was Bob Fenton, who was the FEMA 9 director. So I was able to kind of catch his ear afterwards, and he's looking to make a trip up to Paradise to look at all the successes, and we'll continue they're continuing to invest in Paradise and looking for all that we need to do to make sure that we recover. And then one thing I do want to point out too is I want to say congratulations to former mayor Steve Crowder for his award at that chamber dinner. He was presented, I don't remember the award's name. What's the award's name?
Ed Shalom Award.
Yes, so congratulations on that, well-deserved. And one thing I'll also inform the council is I will be out of town on the week between Christmas and New Year's, and then out of town also the week after. So I'll be taking some time off. And in my place, I'll make sure that you know who is taking my role in that place. But Ross will also be in town, or at least in the office that week that I'm gone. I will be back for the next council meeting. So with that, I'll answer any questions. Hearing none.
Hearing none, we are going to go to a successor agency at this point. So we don't close this meeting, right? No. We just adjourn this one and we move over to the successor agency meeting, and we need roll call. I call it to order, by the way.
Call order at 8:44.
Yes.
Roll call, Director Crowder.
Here.
Director Colleton.
Here.
Director Lassonde.
Here.
Vice Chair Tryon.
Here.
And Chair Bolin.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of minutes, July 12th. Do I have a motion on that?
Move to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion by Tryon, seconded by Colleton. Roll call vote, Director Crowder.
Did I miss public communication?
Yep.
You did. I have no cards.
Nobody's running to the mic? Okay. Move forward.
Roll call vote, Director Crowder to approve the minutes.
Aye.
Director Colleton.
Aye.
Director Lassonde.
I'll have to abstain since I wasn't at the meeting.
Yep, thank you. Vice Director Tryon. Or
Aye.
Vice Chair Tryon, and Chair Bolin.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and now we are going to consider action calendar, approving the recognized obligation payment schedule, the ROPS. I hate this moment.
Well, I'll try to make it as brief as
seen a
possible. It
gun
seems
held
be
to
the
my
theme of
head.
the night. So starting out here, I'll be reviewing the recognized obligation payment schedule, or ROPS, for the successor agency for the next fiscal year. So this is July 2023 through June 2024. This is a requirement of the successor agency to review these ROPS in order for the successor agency to receive any available tax increment that's generated within the former redevelopment agency. These ROPS must be presented first to the successor agency here tonight, and then it'll go to the Butte County Oversight Board, which is scheduled for January 25th of next year. And then from there, it must be submitted to the California Department of Finance by February 1st of next year. So with that, we've really included just basically the bare minimum here in the ROPS, which includes principal and interest debt service payments on the outstanding bonds for the prior successor agency, the 2009 and 2016 tax anticipation bonds. So this includes $340,000 for the 2009 bonds and $74,000 for the 2016 bonds. Those are really just the payments that are in line with those debt service schedules. Also included in the ROPS are $33,000 in administrative fees. This is a bit of a jump from the prior years, as we typically include up to about $13,000 for bond trustee fees and continuing disclosure requirements. But this year, based on anticipated additional disclosure requirements and professional services we anticipate needing to coordinate with credit rating agencies, we've included an additional $20,000 in this payment schedule for that total of $33,000 in administrative expenses. This brings the total ROPS to about $448,000. So that covers the expenses that we've included in the ROPS. Just wanted to take a brief moment to kind of go over the funding side of things. So typically, the payments that are included in the ROPS are funded through property tax increment within the boundaries of the former redevelopment project area. However, as we've kind of covered over the last year or two, given the destruction from the Camp Fire, that tax increment is no longer available. So how we made these payments over the last year was actually by drawing down on the reserve funds in these bonds. However, those bond reserve funds are anticipated to be fully depleted basically as of this next payment in May of 2023. So with that, if there are no alternative funding sources identified, which we currently do not have any funding sources identified, the debt service payments are not fully expected to be completed in whole, beginning here with this next payment coming up in May of 2023. So just wanted to provide that sort of as some context around the funding. However, for this evening, we're really just seeking the approval of the listed expenses as required in order to bring forward those expenses to the Butte County Oversight Board in January. But I'm happy to answer any questions, if any.
So we're not authorizing any payments at this point?
No payments at this point. We're currently looking at some options, and we'll bring forward any, potential other funding sources in the future, but this is just purely authorizing the expenses based on the debt service schedules.
So do you have any idea, like, what our tax basis is now? I mean, because I know that we have more homes that have come online, homes soon to be a little bit more expensive than what they were. As far as our fiscal sustainability, how does that look with where we're at?
Yeah, so I actually don't have those numbers town-wide, but I can provide some context in terms of just the redevelopment area, as that'll relate sort of to the tax increment that'll be available to meet these debt service payments. So when the redevelopment area was developed back in 2002, 2003 fiscal year, that value was, the valuation was $113 million within that project area. That increased to about $192 million directly before the fire. And we just got the latest estimate from the county for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, which we're currently in, which is at $102 million. So in order to have any tax increment available to apply towards these payments, we'll have to exceed that initial valuation of $113 million. But there's a pretty big gap there between where we were at the initial project area initiation and where we were, directly before the fire, so.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that area, just the redevelopment area that we're looking at that point?
Exactly.
Yeah, just one thing to remember too is that if there is a big project that goes in there, it's not out of the world that we would get over that base within a quick period of time. I mean, a $25 million apartment complex is not out of this world. And if it's situated within that redevelopment agency, that could really springboard that tax increment up to allow at least a partial payment portion for that. There's apartment complexes going in without the sewer already in place, so.
Okay, what's the wishes of the council? Is there any cards to this?
I have no cards on this item.
I make a motion to accept.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Crowder, seconded by Lassonde. Roll call vote. Director Crowder?
Aye.
Director Culleton?
Aye.
Director Lassonde?
Aye.
Vice Chair Tryon?
Aye.
And Chair Bolin?
Aye. So
Motion
we're going to
passes.
adjourn the successor agency meeting and go back to our regularly scheduled town council meeting. And we're going to go into closed session at this point. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, the town council will meet with the town manager and town attorney to consider initiation of litigation on 2 potential cases.